War clouds looming. Our CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joins us now. Chris, a few months ago, the president was talking about pulling troops from Syria. Now we're sending a carrier battle group to the region. What's your word on that?
Well, the big difference, Pat, would be the intelligence that the United States has received, and I can confirm that it was Israel that provided much of that intelligence about credible support, credible attacks by Iranian forces or its proxies against U.S. interests in the region, or perhaps Israeli interests. Pat, one thing person that people really know about in this scenario is General Soleimani. He's with the head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. We know that the Trump administration just a few days ago designated that as a terrorist group. So he is one of the main key players in this region, preparing, from what we know, some possible offensive attacks against U.S. interests in the region.
Well, Chris, there was an attack on those tankers. It looks like for sure that's being blamed on Iran. And then they talk about the Houthi rebels out of Yemen are the ones who attacked the pipelines. What could you tell us about that?
Well, the Houthis are just one of these proxy armies that Iran has in the region. So they sent a drone against Saudi Arabia oil pipeline to destroy that. That's just one of the attacks. And then it's pretty sure that it was Iran behind the attacks against those 4 Saudi oil tankers. One other thing to note, Pat, is that Iran has stationed what's called the Shiite militias. They're called the popular mobilization units. They're all over Syria and Iraq. They can be used in any scenario by General Soleimani or the Supreme Leader if they want to attack either U.S. interests. They have 2,000 to 5,000 forces in the U.S. does in Iraq, 2,000 in Syria. So they can be used by Soleimani against U.S. interests. In fact, we saw that firsthand, Pat. We were there last week in an Iraqi Kurdish town of Bashika, overlooking the Nineveh Plain. We could see all that. That is controlled by Shiite militias. And these have been pre-positioned with the pretext of fighting ISIS several years ago, but they're used in any potential scenario, right, by General Soleimani, the Supreme Leader, and Iran's interests in the region.
Well, you know, Chris, that they've got the Iranian oil refiners at what's called Hark Island, and we could bomb the daylights out of that and put Iran out of business. What can we do against Iran? Are they actually developing nuclear weapons, do you think?
Well, I'm sure they're continuing their Iranian enrichment during even the JCPOA allowed them to do that. So they're continuing that enrichment. So, yes, I think their long-term goals is certainly a nuclear device. But they want to have their ability to hit U.S. interests and possibly Israel as well. I think one thing people need to watch, Pat, is the Islamic Jihad in the Palestinian Islamic Jihad in the Gaza Strip are also one of those Iranian proxies here in the region. They were the ones that instigated that 700 missiles against Israel just a few days ago. Eurovision, which is the largest talent show in the world, is being hosted in Tel Aviv. So it's a possibility that Islamic Jihad might use that as a target this day. And one thing I'd like to add, Pat, is that you're such a friend of the Kurds. As you saw there on that story, we were just on the Iranian border in an Iraqi Kurdish village. Kurdistan is a key ally, potentially key ally in this geopolitical scenario. They can be a barrier if the U.S. chooses to blunt the ambitions of Iran to build a land bridge all the way from Tehran to the Mediterranean. The Kurds, they love Israel, they love the U.S., they love Christians and Jews, and they could be a potential great ally in this battle against Iran and its expansionist goals here in the Middle East.